This bodybuilder is the only man to ever beat prime Ronnie Coleman in a competition, and you may not know his name.
Gunther Schlierkamp.
In the middle of his incredible Olympia reign from 1998 to 2005, Ronnie Coleman was virtually unbeatable, crushing the dreams of guys like Flex Wheeler, Kevin Levrone, and Jay Cutler every year with a seemingly perfect physique from a modern bodybuilding standpoint. Although he had some stomach distension for a few years, nobody was able to match his crazy conditioning and, most importantly, overall muscle mass with the proportions that he had. To make it even worse, most bodybuilders at this time were around 5'7" to 5'9", while Ronnie stood at 5'11", which is pretty tall for a professional bodybuilder. Also, there were almost no guys who could stand close to Ronnie without getting out-muscled, one of which, however, was the German giant Markus Rühl. Following the 2002 Olympia, which was Ronnie's 5th straight Olympia win, he would enter smaller competitions throughout the year like the Dutch Grand Prix just a few weeks after the Olympia. After winning that show, Ronnie decided he wanted to do one more show before the end of 2002, and he set his eyes on a show called the GNC Show of Strength, just 6 days after the Dutch Grand Prix on November 9th. While Ronnie would go into that show with a casual mindset, believing that his victory was ensured as the definitive best bodybuilder in the world, somebody else was lurking in the shadows. A bodybuilder who had placed 6th in the 2002 Olympia, somebody who had a big resemblance to a certain Austrian bodybuilding legend, the German Gunther Schlierkamp. Now, I believe his name is actually pronounced Günther Schlierkamp for my German subscribers, but for the sake of simplicity, I'll just call him Gunther. Gunther only placed 5th in the 2002 Olympia, just behind the much smaller American Dexter Jackson, and he was definitely not deemed a threat to Ronnie Coleman in any way because of that, although the audience would disagree, letting out a massive booing roar when Gunther's placing became official, as he was definitely a crowd favorite.
Take the 5th place award and present them to Gunther Schlierkamp.
Uh-oh. Oh, no. Here we go. Here we go. Where's your limo? I'll go over here.
But something else had also been going on behind the scenes with Gunther, as he was seen by none other than Joe Weider, the founder of the Mr. Olympia, as the next Arnold Schwarzenegger, as Gunther himself was quite tall, blonde, well articulated, and had a great smile to boot. Gunther had actually received a special invitation to the Mr. Olympia contest in 1998, 2000 and also in 2001. Although he didn't even place in the top 10, Weider saw potential in Gunther as the next Mr. Olympia, standing at 6'1" and weighing around 300 pounds on stage, which made him the heaviest Olympia competitor at the time, and a perfect counter to the massive Ronnie Coleman in an era where mass was the dominant factor. Despite this, Gunther was a definite underdog in terms of his competitive history, but he was determined to showcase his best package to date at the Show of Strength after being notified about Ronnie Coleman's entry into the show, and Coleman himself was in for the shock of a century. During prejudging, it was already clear that the German had come in better than ever before, a massive improvement in terms of conditioning from the Olympia just 6 weeks prior. Gunther looked super full, his stand was on point, and his posing was deemed immaculate for a man of his size. Coleman, on the other hand, looked rather similar to the 2002 Olympia, which was also one of his more controversial wins, considering he was pushed hard back then by Kevin Levrone. Some would argue that he looked even worse at the Show of Strength, partially as a result of not taking the competition as seriously as he should have, which is a weird opinion to have considering Gunther wasn't even the best guy from the Olympia to compete at this show. Even guys like Chris Cormier and Dexter Jackson, who placed 3rd and 4th at the Olympia, would enter the contest. I think that Coleman looked rather comparable to when he won the Mr. Olympia. Regardless, rumors have been going on around following the 2002 Mr. O that Gunther could end up becoming the next king of bodybuilding, and many were just waiting for him to crack that shell in competition, which is something they would see quite soon. Gunther was pushing Ronnie hard in the mandatory poses like the front double biceps, abs and thighs, side chest, and also the most muscular, and standing next to Ronnie, his strength seemed to shine even brighter, like his relatively small midsection and super dominant massive frame which towered over Ronnie. Even Ronnie's most dominant muscle group, his legs and his back, got overshadowed by the sheer mass and conditioning of Gunther, who was in absolute terms bigger in every muscle group. All eyes became glued to Gunther's unprecedented package, package. Because he came virtually out of nowhere, and in the finals, things were not looking great for Coleman, as he came in with the same distension in the stomach, and his conditioning did not improve. At the same time, Gunther kept the momentum up and managed to come out on top, winning the competition ahead of Coleman and making history as the first person to ever beat a reigning Mr. Olympia outside of the competition. And funnily enough, after Gunther was announced as the winner, second placer at the Olympia, Ronnie, who wasn't even competing, ran up on stage and embraced Gunther, who was close to fainting from sheer joy. Following this tremendous upset, Coleman was contemplating what he should do for 2003, as he had been on a rather downward spiral for a few years with 2 semi-controversial Olympia wins, and now his first ever loss since 1998, and he was definitely not happy with his showing against Gunther. Moreover, although he congratulated Gunther, Coleman was adamant that he was still the reigning Mr. Olympia and would do everything in his power to defend the title, which is a whole different topic on its own, considering the crazy move Ronnie would pull leading up to the 2003 Olympia competition. Either way, this would be the peak of Gunther's career, as he would not place much differently at the next couple of Olympias, maintaining his 5th place spot in 2003, which was definitely not well received by the audience. He would then drop to 6th place in 2004, and then move back up again to 4th place in 2005. Then all the way down to 10th place in 2006, before officially retiring from professional bodybuilding at age 36. Today, Gunther just turned 54 years old, and he appears to be quite healthy despite his career choice, and he's still known as the only man to ever beat prime Ronnie Coleman. What do you guys think of Gunther Schlierkamp and how he managed to beat a reigning Mr. Olympia, yet never managed to even crack the top 3 at the Olympia? Many believe that politics played a large role in him never winning, as he was not a native English speaker. But since then, the sport has opened up a lot more, with guys like Big Ramy and Hadi Choopan winning on different occasions. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and if you like the videos, consider hitting that subscribe button, as only around 20% of my viewers are actually subscribed, and together I believe we can get the channel to 1 million subs in the near future, which is by far the biggest goal I have in life right now. Either way, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.
This is going to be a good one.
Smile.
Smile is not an official pose, Gunther.